Welcome to this predicted paper from On Maths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our On Maths site. On Maths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Enjoy! Integer just means whole number, so we're looking for all the whole numbers that satisfy these two inequalities. Well, the first inequality says that it has to be greater than 3. So the smallest number that is greater than 3 is 4. The second inequality says it has to be less than or equal to 8. So I'm just going to keep going till I get to a number that is less than or equal to 8. It can't be 9 because 9 is not less than or equal to 8. So our answer is 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. To rearrange this, I'm just going to write out the equation again. And I'm going to put my lines in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is try and make the x positive, because we're looking to make x the subject of the formula, which means we need it to be x equals. So what I'm going to do is just add x both sides. So we've got x plus m equals 10. Then we want to get rid of anything on the left hand side that's not this x. So we want to get rid of this plus m. So we're going to do that by subtracting m both sides. So we've got x equals 10 minus m. So our answer is 10 minus m. X equals 10 minus m. So when we say y is directly proportional to x, what we mean is whenever x doubles, y will double. Whenever x halves, y will halve. Now we've got this proportionality sign here, and to make that an equals, all we need to do is introduce a k constant to the right hand side. So it's y equals something times x. Now to find out what that something is, to find out what that constant is, what we're going to do is feed in the value of y and the value of x that we have. So we're going to feed those in. So y is 55.3 and x is 7. So it would be 7k. And we're just going to put our lines in and solve this. So it's going to be divide by 7 both sides. And 55.3 divided by 7 is 7.9. And that's what k is. So we're going to rewrite this equation here, this formula here, y equals 7.9x. And that is actually our answer. So we're looking for angle DEC, which is this one here, but we can't go directly there. We've got to kind of work our way towards it. And the first thing I'm going to look at is these set of parallel lines here. And we've got a line going through these parallel lines, which is this line. If I try and do it without removing it, this line here. And so therefore this angle here and this angle are going to be corresponding. So this is going to be 69 degrees. So I need to write that down properly. So angle CDE equals 69 degrees because of corresponding angles. Okay. So if I know that the CDE is 69, I also will know that this angle here is 69 because they're the bottom two angles in a triangle. Now, when I say that, I mean when an isosceles triangle is the right way up, the bottom two angles are equal. So they're the bottom two angles in an isosceles, although the isosceles is on its side here. And we need to write that down. So it would be angle DCE equals 69 degrees. And this time it's because it's an isosceles triangle. And finally, we can work out what CED is by taking those away from 180. So angle CED, or actually I should keep it as it says in the question, DEC, is equal to 180, take away the 69 plus 69. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. And when you do that, you get the answer of 42 degrees. So the answer is 42 degrees. So we know that James knows that he has a square. So we can actually get rid of all of this bit. It's not relevant at all to the question. And the question asks, what is the probability that the square is blue? Well, there are 3 blue squares, so it will be 3 over, and how many are there in total? Well, it says the total is 17. So the answer is 3 over 17. So we're going to write an expression for the amount of people on the first bus. So they've started with X passengers and they've gone to 11 bus stops with X passengers. So altogether that is 12X. So we're going to have the first bus. And so we've got 12X. And then on the last bus stop, 19 passengers get on. So plus 19. Now for the second bus, well, we start with X and a further 5X come on. Because 5 bus stops with X passengers. So that's 6X altogether. And then 79 get on. And it says the first bus finishes with less passengers than the first. So the first bus finishes with less. And the way we show that is with this inequality here. Now all we need to do is solve that inequality. And we've got x on both sides, so we look at the x's. We've got 12x and 6x, so we always take away the smaller amount. So we're going to take away the 6x both sides. And next thing we're going to do is take away the 19 from both sides. And so, meant to be 60. Got ahead of myself. And the last thing we do is divide by 6 both sides. And so we've got x is less than 10. Now, it says here, assuming no passengers got off either bus, what is the largest value for x? Now, it is tempting to write down 10, but it says x has to be less than 10. So the biggest number we can get that is less than 10 is 9. We know that when you multiply powers with the same base, and here we've got all these as base v, you add the powers. So we're actually looking at what do we add to 11, which is this one here, to get to the 15. 11 plus 4 is 15. So w therefore equals 4. Whenever you have north lines, they will always be parallel. So what we have here is we have a straight line going through 2 parallel lines, which are our 2 north lines. And therefore this angle here is going to equal this angle here. And the reason for that is that the 2 angles are alternate, they're z angles. So we can say that that is 135, and I always like to try and show the examiner the reasons. So that's because it's alternate angles. And we know also that angles on a point add up to 360. So this red angle represents the bearing of A from B. And so to find this angle out, what we're going to do is just 360 take away 135. And the reason for that is angles on a point equal 360 degrees. And when we work that out, we get the answer of 225. So our bearing is 225 degrees. On a scatter graph, an outlier is a point which doesn't fit the pattern. And as we can see here, all of these coordinates fit kind of a nice line going down there. So they all are showing a trend. But we've got this point here that's nowhere near that trend at all. And that's what we call an outlier. So we know that these are going up in 2s. So this will be 28. So the x coordinate will be 28. And this will be 19. So our coordinate will be 28, 19 for our outlier. So for this question we need to understand the different types of graphs from different functions. So if we have a reciprocal graph, it looks something like this and like this. It could be the other way around and it could be distorted, but it basically goes down to a point along here. It goes to infinity and it goes to infinity along a point over here, and obviously those positions could change. Then we've got a linear graph. A linear graph is just any straight line, so just any kind of straight line, either up or down, and this doesn't look like either of those. Then we've got a exponential graph. An exponential graph just starts really small and then just really increases like that and just keeps going up. And here we kind of have that, obviously the other way around, it starts going down, but here it's actually going up, so it can't be a reciprocal graph. So the graph that this is, or could be, is a quadratic graph, because it's a nice U shape, so if we carry this on, it could be a nice U shape. It could also be a cubic graph as well, so it could go up and then down and then up, and that's a cubic graph. But the most obvious one is a quadratic graph. So quadratic function. The formula for an exterior angle for a regular polygon is 360 divided by the amount of sides. Now here we're given the fact that the exterior angle is 30 and we're looking for n, so we just need to rearrange the equation. We can times both sides by n. And then divide both sides by 30. And so we've got n equals 360 divided by 30. And when you do 360 divided by 30, we get the answer of 12. So it's a 12-sided shape. So to find the gradient, we need the formula or the equation in the form y equals mx plus c. And the m there will give us what the gradient is. So we're just going to be rearranging this equation. And so I'll get my lines in. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the x's from the left hand side, and we can do that by adding 6x both sides. So we've got 6y equals, and I'm going to put the 6x first just to match the y equals mx plus c. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is get rid of this 6 because we just want a y there. So we're going to divide by 6 both sides. So we've got y equals 1x plus 36. Now we shouldn't really write 1, but because we're looking for m, we're looking for the number before x, I've kind of left it in there to show that the gradient will be 1. The formula y equals mx plus c includes this m, and the m means the gradient. So if we're looking for something that is parallel to y equals 9x plus 18, we're looking at this number here. And for it to be parallel, it needs to have the same gradient. So we could just write y equals 9x plus or subtract anything. Or we could just write y equals 9x. I'm going to say plus 5. First thing I'm going to do is just draw the square out. And we know the length of it is 10x plus 10, but it is a square, so that's the same all the way around it. But we're also told that the perimeter is 440, so the perimeter is 440. So what we can do is we can work out the perimeter in algebra by multiplying 10x plus 10 by 4, or just adding up the 4 lengths that we've got. So we're going to do 4 times 10x plus 10. But we also know that that is going to be 440 because we're told in the question that the perimeter is 440. So put our lines in because we're going to solve, and we're just going to start by expanding the brackets, so that'll be 40x plus 40 equals 440. Then we're going to get rid of the plus 40 first, so take away 40 both sides. And so that'll be 40x equals 400. And then we get rid of the 40 before the x, so we divide both sides by 40. and we've got x equals 10. So our answer is 10. So we're going to start just by writing this out. So m equals 7 brackets x minus 10. And we're going to put our solving lines in. I'm going to start by expanding the brackets. And we don't need to. We could divide both sides by 7, but I think this is a bit easier. And we're going to subtract, or we're going to add 70 to both sides. So we're trying to get x as the subject. So we're trying to get x on its own. And we're next going to divide both sides by 7. So we have m plus 70, all of that over 7 equals x. So x equals m plus 70 over 7. So we're going to first of all convert the 11 litres into millilitres. So we're going to do 11 times 1,000, which would be 11,000. Okay, so we're going to just draw a line, like a number line. And we're going to have the 11,000 in the middle. Now, what would be the next one down if we're looking at to the nearest 10 mil? So we're going to add a 10 mil on, which will be 11,010, and we're going to take the 10 mil away. So 11,000 take away 10 mil will be 10. What is it? 990. Now, when we're looking at limits with the upper and lower part of it, we are looking at halfway points. So halfway here and halfway here. So this halfway point will be 10,995, and the next one will be 11,005, and that's the halfway points. And so that is going to be our upper and lower bound. And we just need to say that v can be anything above the 10,995 and including that, and it can be anything below 11,005, but it can't include that, because if it did, if it was 11,005, it would have rounded up to 11,010. So we need to first of all work out what the length of the side of the square is. And to do that, what we do is we get the 44v to the power 4 w to the power 5, and we just divide it by 4. And to do that, all we need to do is just divide the coefficient by 4. So it'd be 11v to the power 4 w to the power 5. Some people will try and do something with the v to the power 4 w to the power 5, but if you think about it, if I just draw out my square, if it's 11v to the power 4 w to the power 5 all the way around, when you add, you don't add the v to the power 4 w to the power 5. It's just going to be 11 lots, another 11 lot, another lot of 11, and another lot of 11. So it's 44 v to the power 4 w to the power 5 in total. And to work out what the area is, we obviously are going to square that. So we're going to do 11 v to the power 4 w to the power 5, and we're going to just times it by itself, which is what squaring means. Okay, so we're going to times the 11s together, so that's going to be 121. Going to times the v to the power 4s together, and remember with indices, if you times two powers of the same base, and they're both v, then we just add the powers together, so that'll be 8. And we're going to add the w to the power 5s together, so that makes 10. So it's 121 v to the power of 8, w to the power of 10. So the way this formula works is we have m, which is the final amount. The 2,000 here is our initial amount. The decimal in here is our multiplier, and the power here is the amount of years. So the way multipliers work is they are the percentage divided by 100. So if we go the other way and times it by 100 to make it back into a percentage, it will be 102.9%. Now it says, what is the interest rate of the bank? Well, the interest rate is always going to be 100% well, this 102.9% is 100% plus the interest rate, which will equal the 102.9%. So the interest rate is going to be the 2.9%. You always start off with 100%. So if I put £5 into my bank, I've got 100% of that £5, and then the interest rate is on top of that 100%. So our answer here will be 2.9%. First thing I'm going to do is add these column vectors. So we're going to add the tops first, and then we're going to add the bottoms. So it's plus minus 14. And so at the top it would be minus 4. And 11 take away 14 is minus 3. Then I go pick a point on my shape, and the the top one tells us how far right we're going. So we know we're going 4 to the left because it's obviously a negative. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one tells us how far up we're going. Well, it's going to be down because it's a minus 3. So 1, 2, 3. And we can do that for each of the other points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And when we've done that, we can join them all up with straight lines. And label the new shape B. It doesn't look like it, but we actually have a quadratic here. And the reason it doesn't look like it is because we don't have an x term. But as long as we have an x squared term and a number term, we definitely have a quadratic. And notice something about this second number. It's a negative version of a square number, and that will always be the case because this question is using something called difference of two squareds. And it's very, very simple to work out. What you do is you put down two sets of brackets, and you square root the first term. Well, that's just going to be x. And you put the positive and negative versions of the square root. So we're going to square root 121, which is 11. So we're going to put plus 11 and minus 11, and that's it. Now, when we expand that, and we're just going to quickly expand that now to have a look, it's going to be x squared plus 11x minus 11x minus 121. And notice that the two x terms cancel each other out, which is why we don't have the x terms. First thing we need to do is work out the volume of this prism, and it's a trapezium-based prism. So the volume will be the area of the cross-section, or area of the trapezium, times the length, how 3D the prism is. So trapezium is half a plus b h, and then times the length. Now a and b are the two parallel sides, which will be this one and this one. And then the h is the perpendicular line that hits both of them at 90 degrees, which is what perpendicular means, between the bases. So this will be the 25 meters here. So it's going to be half, and then we're going to add 1 and 5, times that by 25. The length is how 3D it is, so it would be that 10 there. So we're going to times that by 10. And that will give us 750. So it's 750 meters cubed. Now, there is a little formula we can make for the rate. So the rate of anything for this will be the volume gained over time. Now, with this question though, we're interested in the time it will take. It says how long will it take. So we're actually looking at the time. So it will be time equals the volume, which is 750, over the rate, which is 15. So 750 divided by 15 is 50. So it will take 50, and let's have a look. It says per minute. So it would be 50 minutes. With these questions, it's normally easier to view these as two separate triangles. So we've got a small triangle here with 19 and 47. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this out. And we've got a bigger triangle here. And we've got, well, we've got a bit of, we don't really know what any of the sides are just yet, but we can work them out. Okay, now we know that both of these triangles are similar, and the reason is they share an angle and the lengths at the bottom are parallel, so they will be similar, which means one's an enlargement of the other. And we are given some information in the question that the ratio of BC to DE is 1 to 6. So BC is this length here, and DE is this length here. So we're actually given the scale factor because we know that 1 times 6 is 6. So we know the scale factor is 6, and it's asking us to find length AD. And so the corresponding length to AD, which is this one here. So all we need to do is get that 47, times it by the scale factor, so times it by 6 to get to our value. So it's 282. We're going to start by drawing a table of values. We draw the table of values because we've got a curve here, and with a curve you need quite a lot of coordinates to make sure you get the curve right. Now ideally I'd go up in halves, but so that I'm not just sitting here writing numbers, I'm going to go up in ones on this one. I'm going to leave a space there though, and we'll see why in a second. So what I'm going to do is type these into a calculator. I'm going to type in 0.5 times brackets minus 2 close brackets cubed plus 8 into the calculator, and that gives me the answer of 4. I'll do the same with minus 1, that gives me 7.5. 0 gives me 8. 1 gives me 8.5. 2 will give me 12. 3 will give me 21.5. The reason I've left a space there is this axis doesn't go up to 21.5. So what I'm going to do is just do 2.5 to see if it goes up to that, and that should be 15.8125. So that's actually quite useful because that shows that it's not quite 16. So we were aiming for roughly where 16 is. So next thing we do is plot these coordinates. So 2 would be at 4. Minus 1 is 7.5, which we can't be perfectly accurate for, but it's roughly there. Then 0 is 8. Then 1 is 8.5, roughly there. 2 is 12. And then 2.5 is just below that 16. So it's almost at 16. Then the next thing we do is just join it up with a nice smooth curve. It's sometimes helpful if you turn your paper sideways. Obviously I can't do it when I'm on this computer, but you want to just keep drawing and don't lift your pen off at all. Just go with the points. And you want to avoid things like feathering, which is like that, where you do that kind of thing. And you kind of want to avoid or you want to make sure you go through the coordinates, and you just make it a nice smooth curve. The exam is very forgiving when it comes to curves. They know that not everyone's got the steadiest of hands, so as long as yours goes through the points and doesn't have like gaps in it or feathering or anything like that, and it's just one continuous smooth line, then you'll get the marks. First thing we need to do is find out what 10% of the 109 is. So we're just going to multiply by 0.1. And that gives us 10.9. So what we're going to do is we're going to add and subtract this from 109. So we're going to do 109 take away 10.9, which gives us 98.1. And then we're going to do 109 plus 10.9, which will give us 119.9. So our error interval is between 98.1, and it says to use t, and 119.9. So we're going to start by doing a grid, a multiplication grid, and we're going to start by putting 2x plus 11 at the top and 5x plus 3 down the side. And we're going to multiply them out, so 5 times 2 is 10, so it would be 10x squared. 5x times 11, so 5 times 11 is 55, so it would be 55x, and it's positive. And 3 times 2 is 6, so it would be 6x, and that's positive. And 3 times 11 is 33, and that would be a positive. So when we put them all together, we get 10x squared plus 55x plus 6x plus 33. You can see that the x terms are like terms, so we can add them together. So we get 10x squared plus 61x plus 33. So our answer will be 10x squared plus 61x plus 33. We're asked to solve this quadratic, and we're told that we're going to leave the answers to 2 decimal places, so chances are we're using the quadratic formula. So for the quadratic formula, we're going to use a, b, and c. We'll go find a, b, and c. A is the coefficient of the x squared. Now, we don't actually have a number before the x squared. Well, we kind of do. There is a 1 there, we just don't bother showing it. So a is 1. B is the coefficient of the x, which would be minus 15. And c is the number left over at the end. We're going to write down the quadratic formula, but instead of a, b, and c, we're going to feed in the values that we've got. So it's minus b. Always put them into brackets, plus minus square root of b squared. So I always put a, b, and c into brackets, because here if you don't have the brackets, it will square the 15, then put a negative before it. It won't be correct. And I just put brackets for each of the numbers. So 4 times 1 times 6, because if you put brackets around all of them, you'll never ever have that problem. And then 2 times 1. Put that into our calculator with a plus there, and you will get the answer of 14.588 blah blah blah. Go back on your calculator and change that to a minus. Most calculators have cursor keys. You can go back and delete it and change it, and you get 0.411 blah blah blah. So to 2 decimal places, our solutions are 14.59 and 0.41. So we're going to go through one way in which you can do this question. With circle theorems, often there are multiple different approaches, and so if you do a slightly different method, but you've written down all the working and you're happy with it, and you get the same answer, it's probably fine. Just don't forget with these, always show every step of your working out, because normally, say there's 3 marks for this question, 1 will be for the answer and 2 will be for the working out. So the first thing I notice with this question is that we have a lovely triangle coming off a tangent, and whenever we have that, the angle on the outside here is equal to the angle on the opposite side of the triangle. So this is going to be 44 here. I'm just going to remove all of that, and so this is going to be 44 degrees here. So angle BFD equals 44 degrees, and the reason you need to give is the alternate segment theorem, and you have to use those words, otherwise you won't get the marks. Now next I notice that we've got a set of parallel lines here, and we've got a line going through them, and so the 44 degrees there is going to be equal to this one here, and so this is going to be 44 degrees. So we say angle FDE equals 44 degrees, and the reason this time is alternate angles, put the E in, angles, And again, you have to use the word alternate. Okay, next thing I notice is that we have an isosceles triangle here, here, and here. And the bottom two angles in isosceles, assuming that it's upright, are always equal. So this is going to be 44 degrees here. So angle EFD is also 44 degrees. And again, we have to just say that it's an isosceles triangle. Okay, just highlight the fact it's an isosceles triangle. Okay, next thing we're going to work out is this one here, and it's just angles in a triangle. So angle FED is going to be 180, take away the 44 plus the 44, and the reason is angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And so 180 take away the 44 plus the 44 is 92 degrees. And finally, took us a while to get there, but finally we can work out what this angle is, because in total all four corners of this quadrilateral here are touching the circle, so it's a cyclic quadrilateral. And so angle, what's it called in the question? Angle FBD is going to equal 180 take away 92. And again, we have to show the reason of the fact it's a cyclic quadrilateral. And so 180 take away 92 is going to be 88 degrees. So our answer will be 88 degrees. First thing to notice is we actually have two radii here. So we've got this radius here and this radius here. And all radii are always equal in length. So we have an isosceles triangle here. So this angle here is going to be 19x as well. And we've got to write that down. So we're going to say angle OBA is equal to 19x. And the reason is it's an isosceles triangle. Okay, so we know these two are equal. Well, we also can work out x because, as I said before, we have a triangle here. And all angles in a triangle add up to 180. So we've got 7x plus 19x plus 19x equals 180 degrees. And this is angles in a triangle. Try and draw a better triangle, equal 180 degrees. Try and write out these reasons in full. Okay, so that's going to be, was it 45x equals 180. And let's get our solving lines in. And we're just going to divide both sides by 45. Okay, so we've got x equals 180 divided by 45, which is 4. Now, we're looking for this angle here. That's angle ABC. Now, there's a few different ways we could do this. We could work out what this angle is, because it's a big triangle, etc., etc. Or we can use the fact that we've got a tangent touching a radius. So we know that this, let's just pick a different colour, this angle here is 90 degrees. So we can write that down. So angle OBC equals 90 degrees because it's the angle between a tangent and a radius. Again, make sure you write all the reasons in full. And so therefore, angle ABC, which is what we're asked for, is just 90 take away the 19x. Well, we know that 19x is 19 times 4, because we know that x is 4. And so that would be 76, so in total it would be 14 degrees. So angle ABC is 14 degrees. I'm going to first of all just focus on this rectangle here. And we know that to find the area of a rectangle, you multiply the two lengths. And when you've multiplied them for this rectangle, we get 697. But let's write down what A is equal to. And A will be equal to the area, which is 697, divided by the length at the top, which is x plus 30. Now let's focus on the other square, or the other rectangle. And this time we have A equal to the area of it, which is 1870, divided by the 10x. Now because both of these are equal to A, we can actually just get both of these fractions equal to each other. And what we can do is work out what x is going to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my lines in, because we are looking to solve. This is probably going to take a while. And I'm going to times both sides by the x plus 30, so I can get rid of the denominator on the left hand side. And so this will just be 697 on the left hand side, because that gets rid of the denominator. And it will be 1870 times x plus 30, and then all of that over 10x. Same thing again, but I'm going to get rid of the denominator on the right hand side, so I'm going to times both sides by 10x. So we've got 697 times 10, which would be 6,970x, because it's 10x. And it won't actually do anything to the right hand side, but I'm going to expand the top, the numerator. It just gets rid of the denominator. So let's expand while I'm here. So that would be 1870x plus, was it 56,100? I believe that's right. Yep. Okay, so now we've got x's on both sides. So we look and see which one is the smaller amount of x, which is the 1870, and we're going to take that away from both sides. So take away 1870x from both sides, and that will leave 5100x on the left hand side, and then obviously we've got the 56,100 on the right hand side. And we want to get rid of the 5,100, so we're just going to divide both sides by 5,100. And so we've got x equals 11. So now we know x is 11, we can pick one of the equations that we had at the start, and I'm just going to pick the first one, and we can just feed in the value of x. So a equals 697 over, instead of x, it's going to be 11 plus 30. And when you do that, you get the answer of 17. So A is 17. The graph for y equals sine x would start at 0, get to 1 at 90, back down to 0 at 180, then minus 1 at 270, and then 360, back to 0, and then the pattern will just repeat. So do exactly the same thing and then end. Now, because this is minus sine of x, we're going to just reflect it in the x-axis. So instead of going up to 1, it's going to go from 0, it's going to go down to minus 1. Back to 0, but then up to 1. Back to 0, then down to minus 1. So it's just a complete opposite in the x-axis, just complete reflection in the x-axis. And you make sure when you're drawing it in, you make sure it's a nice curve. And really they look at the bottom to see whether it's a U shape rather than a V shape. So really just make sure you get a nice smooth curve going at the bottoms and the tops. And although it's a bit wavy, that's more than good enough to get the marks. So the angle we're looking for, if I just draw a line here The angle is HEG, which is this one here. So I'm just going to call this X. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to draw out the triangle in a 2D way. And I'm just going to use this one. There we go. So we've got E down here, H and G. We're looking for this angle here, which is X. And we're given the fact that this is 14 and this is 12. And so what we're going to do is obviously use trigonometry because we've got right angle triangle here. So the first step is to label the sides. So hypotenuse is opposite the right angle, opposite is opposite the marked angle, and adjacent is between the right angle and the marked angle. And next I'm going to put my triangles in. And those are going to be So, Ka, Toa. Well, if you look, the H does not have a number or letter next to it, so we cross that out, and so we're looking for the one without the H, so that's going to be Toa. Toa is short for tan the angle equals the opposite over adjacent. The angle is what we're looking for, so I'm just going to call that X. The opposite is 12, and the adjacent is 14. Get my solving lines in, because we're going to do the inverse tan both sides. So we've got X equals the inverse tan of 12 over 14, which is 40.601 blah blah blah. And two decimal places, that will be 40.60. So I'm going to first of all just draw out the diagram a bit bigger, just so we've got a bit more space. And we're looking at going from B to M, and M is about here. Now the first thing to notice with M, and I'm just going to quickly label the other parts on, is that the ratio of A to M is 1 and M to C is 4. So the ratio is 1 to 4 between the two. And what is really helpful sometimes is just to label in the kind of section. So if A to M is one section, we've got 4 of the sections from M to C. So just put little notches there to show the 4 sections. And we can see straight away that A to M is 1/5 of that distance. And that's why it's a nice, easy way to show that A to M is 1/5 of that distance. And let's just put a nicer 5, there we go. And so we're looking at going from B to M, but we can't go directly from B to M. We've got to go from B to A to M, and that's going to be the direction of travel. Now, we don't know the name of the road between A and M. In fact, we don't know the name of the road between A and C. We've got to first of all work out what that's called. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from A to C by going down here and then up here. So we can find out A to C is going to be going backwards down A, then up B. Now A to M is going to be 1/5 of A to C. Now if A to C is minus A plus B, that means A to M is going to be minus 1/5 A plus 1/5 B. Now we're asked for the vector B to M, and we know that that's going to be B to A plus A to M. We know B to A because it's labelled, it's just A. And we know A to M because we've worked it out down here. And it should be minus, let's get rid of that, because we know it's going to be minus 1/5 A plus 1/5 B. And so A minus 1/5 A is going to be 4/5 A. And then we've got the 1/5 B. So it's going to be 4/5 A plus 1/5 B. We're going to first of all work out what the function f g of x is. And to do that, what we're going to do is just feed in the value of gx, the function, the kx plus 2. We're going to feed that in as the value of x in the f of x function. So instead of 4x, it'll be 4 lots of kx plus 2 and then plus 3. Now this says that fg, when 4 is put into it, it gets an answer of 187. So when 4 is put into it, well, let's put that 4 into it. So 4 brackets, and it's k times 4, so that's 4k, plus 2, plus 3. And it says that that will equal 187. So we've actually got something we can solve here. So I'm just going to rewrite that, but actually I might expand the brackets as well while I'm at it. So 4 times 4k is 16k, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 equals 187, and let's get our solving lines in. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is, well, we can add the 8 and the 3 actually while we're here. So 16k plus 11 equals 187. So we're going to take away that 11 from both sides. So we've got 16k equals 176. And then we can divide by 16 both sides. So we've got k equals 11. So answer is 11. A simple trick when you're finding the inverse of a function is to replace or to switch the y and the x. Now we don't actually have a y in here, but we can just put one in. It's not a problem. So we can just rewrite this function as y equals x over 10 minus 11. And we're just going to switch around the y and the x. So x equals y over 10 minus 11. Now the objective now is to get the y on its own, to make y the subject. So we're going to first of all add the 11 both sides. And I've made an amateur move here. I've not left myself enough room, so let's just scoot that across. Okay, so add the 11, so it would be x plus 11 equals y over 10. Next thing we're going to do is multiply by the 10 to get y on its own. So it would be 10 brackets x plus 11 equals y. Expand those would be 10x plus 110 equals y. Now this doesn't equal y. We are looking for the inverse function with this notation here. So we just replace the y with this notation and we get 10x plus 110. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our OnMaths site. OnMaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.